Beyond and Under with Bogdana Onishchuk. Hi. Hello, my dear listeners. Episode number 3. We are moving further beyond and under with Bogdana Onishchuk. And today we will talk about something quite new. I will present to you some new ideas, some new concepts, and it might sound a little bit contradictory, but it's not. And I will explain you why. And first of all, if you're listening my program first time, I want to remind about myself. I want to say one more time, who am I? And I will try to say it as clearly, as concisely as possible. So I am a passionate writer. I am a tutor, volunteer in the social field. I am a creator of courses for English learners. But most of all, I am a writer. And most of all, I found my true freedom in the words that I patiently or sometimes hastily write on the small piece of paper that I found in my pockets in the tram. So it's the freedom that I associate with the one of the most pleasant places that I have ever been to. My name is Bogdana Onishchuk, and I happily embrace my listeners, and I so happy to have you as my listeners. And today we will talk a little bit about writing, about literature, and how I want to direct this show, how I want to direct this program more to writing, to literature. And last time I was talking about that my podcast is a book, and I am the character, but I'm not the main character because there are a lot of other characters. And I mentioned something about interviews. I mentioned something about inviting people for talks for quite different people from different backgrounds, from different environment, and that was the initial idea, and that was what I wanted to do. But after a lot of reflections and thinking about this exact format and about this concept, I came to the conclusion and I came to the decision that I needed to change it a little bit. So from now on, it's going to be a solo podcast, and you're going to read the book, you're going to uncover the book and the characters there are in this book, and the character is everybody who's listening, and me as a person who's presenting it all. But the more you listen to me, the more I want that you become the part of this book, of this book that is so important for me, because as a writer, right? I want to write. I want to create. I want to create in the fullness of my creativity. I want to create in the fullness of my thoughts and of my imaginary sometimes, or sometimes very honest and true world. And that is something that I found so comforting, but not only comforting, it doesn't always content me, but what it does, it challenges me. It brings peace to my heart. It makes me think and ponder about different kind of things. And then the question that I was asked a few times from a very extraordinary people, and I was surprised when I heard that question, because I never heard that question before, and I was challenged to answer that question. And right now, I want to answer that question. I want to tell you the answer, because this answer really describes me as a character of our book, of the book that you gonna unveil and uncover for yourself. And And sooner or later, you will understand that you are the one character of this book. You are the one who is creating something in the boundaries of this book. And then the boundaries can extend. The boundaries can become bigger. So if someone asks me, what do you consist of? And somebody actually asked me a very similar question. So I kind of paraphrase it to make it shorter and more clear and clearer. And what do you consist of? What do you consist of? And if I was to give an answer, and I really did, I gave an answer to this question, and my answer was something like, I consist of passion, words, characters, images, discipline, diligence, resilience, creativity, fantasies, ideas, motives. And I would keep exact this order. My passion is the words. Then I embody words and characters that appear in the ordinary or extraordinary images in my head. You see, it's exact the same order that I mentioned. And then it takes a lot of discipline and diligence to be thoughtful about elusive details. Then it is a matter of resilience to perfect the characters into certain shapes, into shapes that I see them in. And that's when creativity can help me, and it helps me to think beyond any limits. And after that, I can spice up my characters with some more fantasies, and then my characters bear ideas, and these ideas, they become my motives to write. You know, behind everything that you do or everything that you think, or behind every action or every thought, there is a certain motive. And whenever I write, in the end, the idea that I create certain images, certain shapes, certain character as a symbol of a certain idea with a certain character that idea bears, then it become my motive to write. And I found it quite genius, and I came to such a genius words and sentences after I was looking at the question, what do you consist of, and then looking for this exact question in myself, inside of me, in my heart, in my head, in my mind. And I was asking myself that question, and then when I relaxed and I let myself write, that's what I came up with. I came up with a certain order of words that is so explainable, so clear in my head. It makes sense. And after I read it, I thought, wow, I couldn't think of that. I'm not really capable of such a structural, sequential series of sentences, but I did. And you know why? Because the freedom that I found were in the words. And that is something very important for me. That's why I'm sharing it with you, because how I want to connect it with the fact that my podcast is a book that unveils itself. Yes, I speak. Yes, I tell you certain stories. Yes, I share my experience. Yes, I maybe stimulate or push you to certain decisions, thoughts, or actions. But on top of all of this, there is a certain reason why I'm doing this. Because I'm a creator. I am the author, and I can boldly say that I am a writer because I'm in love with that. Because I came up with something so incredible that I don't believe that I wrote that. So in the process of that book, in the process of creating that book, and the creators are not just me, but also you and me and everybody who's listening right now. And it makes sense in my head. It makes sense in my head to create something like a show. With every episode, you're getting to know me, but also you're getting to know a character. With every episode, you find your place in this book. You find your position, or you don't find any position, and that is also a position, you know. And with every episode, it's becoming more. It extends itself. It's becoming all inclusive through every episode, and you hear certain things, maybe ideas, maybe motivation, maybe certain stories, and then it has a certain response in you. And that is my goal, that you would have a certain response whenever you're listening to this. So let's get down to business. That is how can I present and describe myself? I can say that I am an author. I write, and through writing, I create certain characters, ideas, shapes, certain rooms. It's just so amazing how in your head you can create everything that you want, everything that you desire, and then you just desire that, and then you create, you spice it up, you decorate it in your head. Let's say it's a house, you decorate the house of your dream in your head, you make it cozy, you make it just the way you want it. And imagine one day, through such imagining, through such dreaming, through such decoration in your head, one day you make a decision to make it a reality. And that is the point of all of it. One day, I wanna be the best-selling author. And now I can say it out loud, which really surprises me because, let's say a few years ago, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that when I was listening to a podcast about motivation. I was, wow, these people are so motivated, but I can say that to myself. No, that's impossible. That's impossible. How on earth can I be a best-selling writer? Let's say I didn't set a certain boundaries about a best-selling writer in the world or in my country or in a few countries. It wasn't about it. It was more about just saying it, just accepting the fact that you want it. Yeah, so in the process of creating this book, I want you to take decision. Maybe this decision will take place in a few years, and you will say to yourself, I want this kind of a house, and I want exact decoration that I thought through in my head, and I want exact amount of rooms and exact interior that I imagined and that I dreamed of. You know, it's about the small things. It's not about big things. It's about small things that make us human, and that make us happy, make us fulfilled. So that is all about this. Now I want to move slowly to such a bold and clear statement. The listener, the reader. The listener is equal the reader. So you are the reader of my show. You are the listener of my show. But at the same time, you are the reader of my show. And that is the form of art that I found. But also, I wanted to put it on reality. I don't want it to be too beautiful. I don't want it to be too unreachable, because reality is beautiful as well, but it's different kind of beauty. It's all different kind of beauty, that the beauty that is unreachable, and the beauty that is right now, right here. So yes, you are the listener, and the listener is equal the reader. So you are both. Very often when I was younger, I had a lot of struggles with my personality, or with my looks, and or with my brains. And very often you want to be both. You want to be pretty and smart, or you have a certain concept. Okay, pretty and smart is just a certain stereotype, but also deep down, if you look deep down in your heart or in your mind, it's exactly the thing that you sometimes desire. And when I was younger, I couldn't accept that I'm just smart, but after some time I was like, I'm smart. That's better than be just pretty, and it's not actually about objective beauty. It's more about the subjective beauty, and the beauty that you can find in yourself right now, right here, because everybody is beautiful and everybody is smart in different ways. And every time I look at the person, I'm so, I tell you, so surprised, and I'm so amazed, and I can't describe what kind of feelings I have at these moments, because I realize how beautiful every person is. I look at the traits of the face, and I understand, wow, the eyebrows of that woman or man are beautiful. The nose, the eyes, it's so unique and so beautiful, and you can't find it anywhere else. So it's the pure definition of unique. And as I had struggles when I was a teenager and when I was a kid, I really wanted to be both. And I'm telling you this story because now you are both. Now you're the listener and the reader. You are both. And it's more about your ability and your work that you put into accepting yourself. Because everybody is both. Everybody is everything. Always. But we don't think so quite often, because we don't accept certain things about ourselves. We don't accept our beauty, or we don't accept our brains. So it's a little bit comment about you are both. When I heard that phrase, when I said that phrase, you are both the listener and the reader, I came up with that story. I couldn't not tell you and not share with you. I would continue with something like, I am a book. My show is a book. I am a book that slowly uncovers and unveils itself. And important stuff here is that in this process of me being a book that slowly uncovers and unveils itself, in this process, you uncover yourself. Through the prism of my experience, of my passion, of my creativity, of my stories, of my strengths and weaknesses, of the stories that I tell about other people, or the story that I tell about myself when I was a teenager and I couldn't accept myself, and through this process, and in this process, you also uncover yourself. And as a writer, I have that urge and I have that need to create. I want to write. I want to create. I want to be an author. I want to consider different characteristics, and then I want to put them into reality. But also, I want to be connected with every character, but also I wanna comprehend the uniqueness of every character and every environment. A certain room gives you a certain atmosphere and certain feelings. And sometimes it's a certain environment. It's a certain room. Let's imagine it's a certain people, some people. And then you have a response, and you feel something special. And then after that, after many years, you still remember that. So that's something special. Impress you so much that it imprinted itself in your memory. And now it's a memory because you somehow felt certain way that you haven't felt like this before. And so I want to create the characters. I want to write a book in this show. And you are the reader. Remember, you are the listener and you are the reader. Another thing, I imagine, what can you possibly ask me? And I imagined this question. I don't know if it's really so, if this question has arisen in your mind during this our program today, but I don't know. I'm not sure, but still I will ask that question, and maybe you asked that question already, and hopefully I can answer that. How on earth are we taking a turn to literature? That's quite funny to me because, yeah, it was not supposed to be this. Sometimes in our life we have a certain plan, but then it's not working out. It's not, you're just in the middle of that plan. You feel, you have that intuition that it's not going the way it's supposed to be going. So how on earth are we taking the turn to literature? Good question. I would say I was thinking, why did I do this? It's so irrational. And I usually, most of the time, I want to be rational. I want to be structural. I'm not quite that yet, but I'm trying to be clear, to be structural, to be laconic, to be rational, to be logical. But sometimes it's just not working out. And in this idea that I came up with, this project that hopefully will last for a few years, and it's irrational. I was talking to myself with something like, Bohdana, it's irrational, don't do that. You sound stupid. You know that you're not this, but everybody gonna think that you're this. And exactly that's the feeling, and that the thoughts or words that you feel, that you sense whenever you notice in the middle of your plan that something is going on and something is going to happen and it's not on your list. Yes. Yes, I want to create an invisible. I want to create this invisible for the human eye, but still easily noticeable for the human mind stream that flows into inspiration, motivation, the urge to action, the joy of exploration yourself. I really want to take that turn. That's risky. That's risky to take such a turn. I'm scared. But I want to create something. I want to create this invisible for the human eye, but easily noticeable for the human mind string that flows into inspiration, motivation, the urge to action, or the urge to stop, and the joy of exploration yourself. What is the point of all it? What is the point? The point of my ideas, of my explanation, my emphasis, I like emphasizing important things for me, or the thing that I found significant. Statements, the point of statements, certain beliefs, changes in the structure, change of plans, and uncountable attempts to create something of value. What is the point of all it? Because that's exactly what I do. I create ideas. I try to explain them. I try to explain them as clear as possible. What is the point of all the emphasis that I do, all the statements that I so boldly say? What is the point of my beliefs that I try to share you with? What is the point of my changes in the structure? What is the point of the uncountable attempts to create something of value? And all that lies in my ultimate desire to help. To help, but not only, but also to inspire, also stimulate self-reflections of people, of my readers/listeners. You are. And that is the point of all these things, of my ideas, emphasis, statements, the point of helping to realize certain things, the point of helping to make certain desires, the point of stimulating certain thoughts in your head or in yourself. That is the point of all it. The point of all of this is that you would uncover the hidden part, the hidden aspect of your personality. In the way that we talk, that I'm trying to communicate, and I'm trying to communicate my ideas into your understanding or into your minds. In this way, you would have a certain train of thoughts that would follow. And in that train of thought that will follow, I want you to find something new, to explore yourself, to find a new aspect, a new facades of your personality, of something that you do or something that you're not doing, someone that you talk with every day and someone that you forgot a long time ago. So that is the mission, my mission, and the point of all of this. And maybe there are some aspects of your personality that you're not aware of. I was living for many years until I realized that I can do certain things. I'm capable of doing certain things. And there are not so many things that I'm not capable of. So I needed a few years. I needed reflections. I needed to ask myself questions like, if you can, why I can't? If you tried, why I can't? Then something like, I want it, so I will find the way for it. And it was a lot of things like that, a lot of questions, a lot of statements. And that's why now it plays such a meaningful role and decisive role in not just in my life, in everybody's life. Because remember, at the first episode I was talking about that we are all human. And I want to talk about my life story that is full of grief, full of sufferings, full of positive and negative aspects as well. And it's so relatable to you. It's so relatable to you, but also at the same time, it's such a far cry from you. Just like your life is full of pain, is full of different things. But also it's such a far cry from mine. And that's what I was trying to put on the table, that, listen, I have a life story and I want to share my life story. I have dreams that now are my goals. I want to be successful and I want to share my definition of success with you. But also I want to consider other definitions of success. I want to explore myself, but also I want to suggest you to explore yourself through a certain thing that I offer. So that's all about such kind of things. And so we will develop self-awareness. I will inspire you as the writer inspires her readers, and from time to time becomes their muse. I dream that somebody would see something so inspirational in my programs, in my books, that you can't help but be inspired. You can't help but take actions. You can't help but do something about it. So that is my dream. And yes. As well, I want to stimulate the thoughts in your brain that you, not you, all of us tend to ignore or pretend not to see or not to consider important, or simply not knowing that such a thinking pattern ever existed. Just like I thought my whole life that I couldn't be whatever I decided to be. I couldn't be whatever I wanted to be. I always thought there are certain limits because of my background, because of my nationality, because of this, because of my looks, because of that or this. And for a long time, I thought, well, I can't be that, or I can't decide to be that because I have limits. I was born in so-and-so family. I was raised in such a way, or I'm not this, or I'm not this enough or that enough. And I was literally setting boundaries for me, and not my personality boundaries and how people can interact with me or how people can treat me, but literal boundaries to what I can do. And for many years, my thinking pattern was like this. Like I am limited. I was not born in such a family. I was born in different family. And it was I didn't have this or that, so I couldn't be a possible person for such a position or for such a thinking pattern. So for many years, I thought that I didn't even know that certain thinking patterns existed. We're going to talk about this as well. And yeah, so I couldn't even say to myself that I can be, or I will be, the most successful woman in my country, for example. I couldn't say that because I limited myself due to a certain environmental things that were happening with me, due to a certain mindset that was pushed onto me. And we'll talk about this. Yeah. Now, I wanted to mention that if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions, or if you have a certain topic that you want me to discuss, or that you want to hear my thoughts about it, or you want me to make a research and then to present a thoughts of majority and minority, if you have anything to say to me, then please contact me. Write me an email at Beyond&Under at gmail.com. So Beyond and Under at gmail.com. I can spell it, actually. I can spell it BeyondAndUnder. It's all together at gmail.com. So you can write anything. You can write your opinion about the certain matters that I mentioned, or you can as well share your story. And you can suggest certain topics, or you can ask me any question that you want as well. And yes. So one more time, if you just joined, then I would remind you who's here, who's talking, it's Beyond and Under with Bohdana Onishchuk. I'm a writer, tutor, educator, and volunteer in the social field, and creator of courses for English learners. But most of all, I'm a writer. So here I position myself as a writer. And finally, I found courage in myself to say that, to make it open, make it official. Okie dokie. And now I want to talk a little bit more. We still have time. And I want to talk about... And yes, so I also wanted to talk a little bit more about creating this invisible for the human eye, but easily noticeable for the human mind stream that flows into inspiration, motivation, the urge to action, or the urge to stop, and the joy of exploring yourself. This statement, this sentence is the very core of this episode. That's why I repeated it one more time, and probably will repeat it again, because it's something that I put a lot of significance into. And I want to make it so slowly and so tenderly that you really feel that there is a stream, and you can see that thin stream that is flowing, and the outcome, the result of that flow is different. Sometimes it's inspiration. Sometimes it makes you do something that you haven't done for a while. For example, to paint a painting, or to sing a song, or to dance. Sometimes it's motivation. Sometimes it motivates you to start something that you were considering for quite a while, and you couldn't find a certain reason, or maybe justification, or maybe explanation why you want to do this. But then deep down in your heart, you know that you want to do this, you want to do something. There is a certain idea that every human being bears during the days. Sometimes it's long-lasting ideas, sometimes it's a short-lasting ideas, but still, it is something. And I want to encourage you with one of the stories, and the story about how I started, how I wrote my first essay. It's an amazing story, but the only thing I remember how much I enjoyed it and how much I liked the outcome. And deep down in my mind, I knew that the outcome, the result, is not that good. It's not perfect. It could have been better. It could have been much more better than this. But somehow it was quite enjoyable to read it. I don't have it anymore. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I remember that very small parts, and I remember how I wrote it, the process. And I want to share with you. And that started how I wrote my first essay, how I wrote anything. It was a small piece of text, or it was my first work. I consider it as my first work, but I couldn't preserve it, so somehow it's gone. Somehow it's in the trash bin right now. It's not there anymore. So it was when I was 13. I was 13 years old, and we had a homework. We had a homework in school, and this time I wanted to write something on my own, because usually I couldn't be quite creative because the teachers were quite negative about that. They were not nurturing, or they were not encouraging creativity. So I decided this time I'm going to write of my own. I'm going to write something that makes me think about every word that I do. So I sat and I wrote that small text. It was around 300 words. I didn't count, but approximately it was a page and a half. And I was writing for 2 hours and I enjoyed it. I was admiring every second of that project, and I was there fully in that moment of writing. And I haven't experienced anything like that at that age, of such an immersion in the process of something that makes you feel so good and so right, as if you are in the right place and doing the right thing. And that gave me a lot of satisfaction. And that text was in English. And after that, I started writing in Ukrainian as well. And I found even more joy in writing in Ukrainian, because it's my mother tongue and I feel it. You know, I cannot express such elusive and tender things or details when I'm writing in English. I'm working on that. I'm working on the ability to do that. But when we are honest and realistic about this, I can do that. I can do that only in my mother tongue. And but still, I was writing in English. I was 13. I was writing that for 2 hours. I was enjoying this moment, enjoying the process. And after that, I was reading again and again and again. It was a little bit stupid, because now looking back, I understand how much I admired my work, but it wasn't even that good. But still, for that time, it was good for me. It was something new. It was a lot. It was admirable. It was worth it. It was valuable. I put so much effort into this, but also it was the manifestation of my creativity, of my way of writing the sentence, of my way putting the certain word, of my way describing certain things. So that was fully my thing. And I was so happy that I have my thing. We all want to have our thing, fully, undeniably, that it's just just for me. And that's how I wrote down my first text, essay, whatever it was, I don't remember, in English, in other languages. And after that, I started uncovering that, I wouldn't say talent, I would say interest. I would say love. Because with over time, that love became stronger. And I don't experience writing now as I experienced it when I was writing that story, that text at 13. It's very different. It's two different things, actually. It's two different things, because now I can taste it. Now when I write, it's like a process of tasting words, process of being there and doing this. Exactly that is joyful to you. Exactly that you feel so grateful for. Because whenever I write, I quite often have this realization, I'm so grateful that I can do that. And I know it sounds stupid, because everybody can do that. Everybody can write. But now I'm talking about writing as a shape of your art, as a shape of your ideas. because I don't admire, or I can say that I can be in the process of painting something and understanding that I am creating something so special, something of my own, and something full of creativity, but also full of something so realistic. I can't say that because it's not so. Because I don't see myself as somebody that does that. Or I don't feel myself in that skin, in that role good. I don't feel content. But when I write, I feel myself. That's exactly about feeling yourself, because when I paint, which I rarely do, I don't feel myself. I feel somebody else. I feel like I'm copying somebody else. And that's not good. That's not good. And the result of it is going to be what? It's going to be disappointment. It's going to be dissatisfaction. There's going to be a lot of negative things, because once I was doing something that was not my thing, because I was copying somebody, because I thought that if I do this, then I will be as great as that person, because I couldn't. I was 8 back then, but still, it still applies, So I feel myself when I do that, and I felt myself probably for the first time when I was 13, and I was writing that, and I discovered that you can write and you can be yourself. You can be yourself in the purest manifestation of that, in the purest form of that. Because when I'm writing, I feel like I am becoming one with everything that I write, as if I am in that spot, or I am in that room. But most of the time I am contemplating. I am looking at the people. I'm not the people, but also I add as a writer, I can't help but unconsciously, it happens unconsciously. You never notice it, or you never suspect that. I add a part of me into everybody. I add a part of my environment that I grew in, or that I saw into the interior, into the room that I'm describing. It's like the collection of my memories, the collection of how I see the world right now, and the collection of everybody that I have never met, the collection of every house that I never was in, that I haven't been to, sorry. And that is exactly what it's all about. It's all a collection of so real and so imaginable things that it makes it so unique. It makes it as if you're touching a certain substance and you have no ideas what that substance is. And that is so, because every time I write something, in the process, it's enjoyable and all that, but then I'm reading it and it's so serious. And it's so serious, but my plan was to write something humorous. Oh, wow, you don't have humor at all, but everybody has humor, but it's very specific. And so you come up with something so different from what you expected that you feel like you're not yourself, but also you are the most yourself in that moment. That is crazy. That is mind blowing. That's why I'm explaining that like this, with a lot of emotions and with a lot of voice intonation, because it's really so. Like, you expect yourself to write something. You plan. You're like a smart person. You plan, and you write a certain structure, but then it's something different than what you expected from yourself. But then you understand that it's the real you. That's the real you. And that's exactly what you wanted to write. That's exactly what you wanted to talk about, or just to be silent about. And you're describing the silence. It's like the freedom that I can't even explain, because that freedom is is the real one. And why I said the real one, because sometimes I felt like, wow, it's freedom. But then I understand, oh no, that's a limit. I don't know. How do you think, is there a limit to freedom? Can there possibly exist a limit to freedom? Should there be a limit for a freedom? Because freedom for me is something limitless. So there is no limit for that. No boundaries, no measurements, and no limits. That's how I imagine freedom, and that's exactly how I define it in my head. But what do you think? Do you think that freedom can have boundaries? Do you think that freedom can have limits? That's a good question to think about. Yes, and that's exactly how I wrote down my first text, and how I showed my creativity, and how I enjoyed that creativity and that time. And after I handed it to my teacher, I had a lot of mistakes, and it was quite discouraging. Mistakes like punctual and grammatical mistakes, and it was something not very pleasant about this, because somebody saw it, and the only reaction that I got was, you did a lot of mistakes. So that wasn't a pleasant part about this first time. I think there should always be pleasant and unpleasant part about first time. Interpret it in the way you want, think it in the way you want, but that's what I think about my first time writing text. Yeah. And let me think for a moment what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to summarize one more time. So I was writing for 2 hours. I was 13. That was something new for me. I've never done it before, because the teachers don't really embrace that. And there is always a certain formula that you gotta use. And I understand that. I don't mind that. But also there always should be a room for creativity. That's exactly what I didn't have in my school or in my childhood or whenever I was. But still, I found the ways. I found the ways to manifest it, to show it, to unveil it, to uncover it. Because from the age of 13, I got this. You know, when I was 13, after I wrote down that text, and I stood up, and the only thing that I said, I remember that quite clearly. I don't remember what the text was about, but I remember that phrase, expression very clearly. So I stood up and I said, I got you, Bohdana. So that was my answer to this ecstasy that I was in for 2 hours. I got you, Bohdana. So sometimes you just have to got you. You just have to understand yourself. You just have to figure it out who you want to be. I know it sounds quite lame, but still. Yes. And after that, I started writing Ukrainian, which was another level of ecstasy. I remember I had my summer holiday, and I was sitting under the tree on a grass, and I was describing how the wind is playing with my hair. I was describing, I was writing some memoirs or some, just making notes. And I remember how this exact moment that I was in, because I was writing that down. So now that moment is imprinted in my memory. And I remember that I wrote about azure sky. I wrote down about the wind that was playing with my hair, and also with the sun that was touching my cheeks. That was something of another level. I can say that whenever I do write, I ascend to another level. I am as if, I am at the same time, I'm walking on the earth, but at the same time, I'm flying somewhere. And that is the beauty of everything that makes you so good, makes you feel so good, makes you feel so right, and so just full. So yes, and as I already mentioned, I'm going to mention it again. If you have any questions, or you have any suggestions, or you want to share your story, or you want me to talk about a certain topic, then please contact me by writing me an email at Beyond&Under, beyond@gmail.com. And I can spell it BEYONDANDUNDER @gmail.com.
Я тебе чекала, чи коня нема, чи стежки не знав, мати не пускала, чи коня нема, чи стежки не знав, мати не пускала. Коня я мав, і стежку я знав, і мати пускала. Найменша сестра, бодай не зросла, сідельце сховала. Найменша сестра, бодай не зросла, сідельце сховала, а старша сестра сідельце знайшла, коня осідлала. Ой, братіку, до дівчиноньки, що тебе чекала. Ой, братіку, до дівчиноньки, що тебе чекала. Тече річенька, невеличенька, схочу, перескочу. Вітайте мене, моя матінко, за кого я хочу. 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 Чом ти не прийшов, чом ти не прийшов,